In the last video, we finally finished off making the custom properties page. It only took 2 hours to do. And what I've done now is gone ahead and made all the other page backends. So the view models, the binding, the database calls, because they're all really just copy and pasting of the custom properties. And you're not really learning anything. So let me just show you how to now catch up and follow along and just overview of what we've done. So you can see here now, if we go to all these, we've got them all bound with blank pages, blank view models, and we can even create a new action for each one and save, and they all work when you come back in. So I've done this in 3 commits so that you can follow along. For those of you that know, this is on github.com/angel6/YouTube, and you can find all of the code. So if you enter here, you can then click 140 commits here, and it will take you to the pages. So these are the 3 commits I've done. The first one is the view models for the remaining action pages. If we click into here, you'll be able to see what I've done in this side panel. So where you've got a plus and a minus, it's saying I've edited the file. So if we click in the application DB context, you can see that what it's saying is these lines have been removed and these ones have been added. Now it's not super clear, but basically all I've done is added a DB set for every data model that we've added and created. And this is again copy and paste of the custom properties, and we've copied this one over and over and renamed them all to the file info tab, import tab, macro tab. So basically one for every one of these tabs. If you look at the up-to-date code in my application here, and we went to the DB context, you can see I've basically added these DB sets here. And then I've also gone ahead and copy and pasted the custom properties entry and done it for all the other tabs. And you can see it's literally an identical thing, just with a different view model. Back on here, that's when you scroll down and see, that's those entries being added. And then as well as the application DB context, I've gone ahead and created a data model for each. And each of these have all the properties in that we need. So if we went to the data model and say went to file info, it's a copy and paste of the custom properties. So it's got the ID, the job name, and the description. And then I've gone ahead and added all of the specifics to each tab. So this comes off my actual program. So these are the things that each page need. So the file info needs these, the import file needs these, the macros needs these, and you get the idea. They're just properties added to data models that match my application. We've done the print data, the save drawing, the save model, and that's all of them that have been added. Again, you can see here, if they've got a plus and a green, it means they're completely new files, so these have been created. So we've made the drawing template, file info, import file, macro, save drawing, and save models. We edited the custom properties, and what I did was added these limits to the database that we mentioned before that we should do. So set the limits of the string length to reasonable values that make sense for my application. And then same for the print, the 2 existing ones, print and custom properties. We basically just added these max length tags to strings. And I went ahead and updated the printer settings ID and printer settings data model to nullable. That's a small change there. That just helps with the way that the code's working. Then the print settings data model's been edited again with the same tags. That's all that's going on in all of these edited files. So there's nothing complicated there. We've just updated all these, so you can follow along and go through these Git changes. If you're in Rider and you wanted to compare the difference, what you could do is say open the custom properties tab. You can right click Git, compare with revision, and if you've pulled this source code from the Git repository and you're following along, you can compare to certain commits. So this one here says, if you look at the bottom here, view models for remaining actions. If you compared to that, you'll get the side by side and it would show the difference. Now at the minute, obviously I'm up to date, so there is no difference. But if I went to Git and looked here, you can also see the same thing here. So you can double click in, and this is what yours would look like. It would show that you've got these being added. So obviously that would be on the opposite side for you because this is up to date and this is behind. But you can compare left and right between changes in files as you step through the commits. So on top of adding all the data models, which is that section there, we updated the DB context with the DB sets. And then in the database service, I went ahead and renamed the printer settings data model name to job name as well, because that was inconsistent with the others. Part of the drawing template data model needed an enum, so that's what this is here. We made a drawing template operation, and that is in a folder I've created called drawing template, and there's the enum. The settings page view model got the name change from the job name as well, just from the refactor. And I've added something that's going to be needed when we come to it, which is an observable collection of strings called drawing template search paths. So you just want to add that to the settings page view model. So if we went to view models, settings page view model, and I've added this here. And then finally, further down in the view model, I've added the search paths to convert as well. So we scroll down in the to data model. I've also then make sure we set it there so the view model and data model both have the same list. And then the same for the view models then as the data models. I've just made new view models, made them identical. So we've made them again for the drawing template, file info, import macros, save drawings, and save models. So if we looked at those, you can see they're all here. And all they are again is the view model with the exact same info from the data model, just with the observable properties, and has changed all in there. So again, there's nothing new here to show. You just want to open these files and copy the data over for all the view models. And then after I did the view models and data models for there, I've done another commit, which is the actions, view models, and database methods. So if we look into here to see what we've done, I've gone into every view model and I've added these here, which is what I've just shown you. So basically the data models were the first one and the view models were the second commit. So all of these are adding of the methods. And you'll notice one thing I've done in these new classes is I've also added an extensions method called toViewModel. So if we were to look in, say, the drawings template view model and scroll down, you can see I've made an extension class that I've named the exact same as this class, and then just put the word extensions at the end, made it static, put a single static function inside that returns a view model of this type and accepts a data model as the parameter of the extension method, and then called it toViewModel. If we look at where that's then used, you can see when we come to do this and convert, we can then call .toViewModel instead of casting all the properties inside. And you can see here in the actions page view model, we originally did it with a select, and then we made the new view model inside, and then we did the cast. And all I've done is cut all that code. So cut this code out of this section and move that into the actual print view model. So if we went into the print view model and scrolled to the bottom, you can see I've done a toView model and I've pasted that code into here. And then instead of calling this manually, we call the .toViewModel. And that's why we then end up with .toViewModel in here. So all you want to do again is go through this code change and see what's changed and paste them in. Or you can just download the repository as I mentioned and override these files. All they are is the properties that you've seen before, the same as the others. We have a toData model inside of the view models now, and an extension method so that the data model can call .toViewModel the other way and cast inside. And that keeps the conversion between view models and data models inside of the same class for each view model, so they don't go into two separate places. If we put the toViewModel into the data model, firstly the data model is then aware of the view model, which we want to try and avoid. And secondly, the logic to copy one way and copy the other is split over two files. So I find it much nicer to put them right next to each other like this, so they can't really be missed when you're updating one, you update the other. So on top of just doing those changes, we have the actions page view that needs to refresh the pages. So on line 32 on tab changed, we go to the action page view. You can see we need to call these conversions so that when we change the tab, it finds the appropriate view. So we've done this. I fixed one bug in the actions tab custom properties view, and that was in the code behind. I'd left this as actions tab print view model instead of custom properties. So when we first went into the custom properties tab, it wouldn't select the job name by default, so you wouldn't notice that. Finally, in the actions page name, I've got rid of the unknown again, changed it to start with just print, and then made print the default. Inside of the actions page view model is one of the biggest changes. When we refresh the action page, I've then had to add all of the calls to fetch each list. And again, you can guess it, I've just copy and pasted all of the exact same functions over. So if I just go to the actions page view model. I think it's easier to see in code than in the differential. So we had the print methods, which we have the fetch, add, cancel, delete UI, save, and delete. And then what we did when we come to the custom properties was we copy and pasted from the print, and we made these functions. So we made the fetch, add, cancel, delete from UI, and save. So all I've done is for all the other pages, all those, they are literally a copy and paste of the custom properties, and then rename everywhere where we have the word custom properties. I literally selected over all of these. So I went like this, selected over everything, Control-Shift-H, changed scope to selection, searched for file info, and changed it to custom properties. And then hit replace. And that would literally update these functions to match all the file info. I did that for everyone, so that's just literally copy paste all them 7 times and rename the custom properties to file info, save model, save drawing, import file, drawing template, and macros. So that gets us then the view models, the new view models, the new data models, all of the calls inside of the actions page view to then have methods so that the UI can bind to for fetching, deleting, updating, saving. And then the final commit before we then carry on where we left off is I've made a bunch of blank pages for every one. So you can see we have, again, a new file, and we have a code behind, which is a copy and paste of the custom properties. Again, doing the same thing. So I've gone to the view of custom properties, copy, pasted, give this a new name like file info. Then I've gone to the code behind class of each. So say this was the copy paste. I go to the code behind file, select all, Control-Shift-H. Anywhere it says custom properties, I then change to drawing template in this case. And hit replace. And all that would do is it would rename the class, the constructor, and this check here. So it renames them 3. Then in the view, I did the same thing. I cut down the view and made it as small as possible. And did the select all, Control-Shift-H, and do the same search and replace. And it would replace the class here, text here, and everywhere you see these highlights, so several places all the way through. But because of the naming conventions and how everything's the same, the copy, paste, and rename all automatically give us a new view that is already bound to everything correctly, instead of having to manually search through all these and find every place that we had, say, a custom properties list item and replaced it for a drawing template. The search and replace worked fine. I then just made the text here, the little description in both of them, relevant to each page. So I manually then went in after, and for the file info, I then wrote a description that made sense for the file info. The same for the import files, I then went in and wrote one for that. That gives us all these, so you can just literally copy and paste all of these tabs over. So you don't really need to do anything here, you can just copy and paste them all in. And that would be the drawing template, file info, import macros, save drawing, and save model. So it's those files we've created. Going to the actions page view then, basically where we have the tabs. Here, we then need to actually inject the tabs because we weren't injecting any tabs into each page. So that will make each tab then load the appropriate view we've just made. And in the code behind, we uncommented these that originally in the previous commit I commented out. So you can see in the code behind, basically whenever we change tab, we then make sure we resolve the view. And that's all the changes. So there's quite a bit there, but all I've done, and I don't think it was worth covering in a video going through them, is pretty much a ton of copy and pasting everywhere. So I took the custom properties data model, copy and pasted it, updated all the fields to match my application, specifically which values wanted to be in each data model. I then went to the view models, copy and pasted the custom properties, remade the view models. I then went to the views, copy and pasted them, remade them. And then we did some minor changes in basically the actions page view and the action page view model. And the same thing finally in the database context, copy and pasted the DB sets over. And in the database service, we copy and pasted, which I think I forgot to mention as well, but you can guess it. We copy and pasted the custom properties code here, searched and replaced everything, and remade all these functions as well in the database service. So we have a get file list, an add, an update, and a delete, and they are literally all the same, copy and pasted from the custom properties. But all these three you'll find in the last 3 commits on the GitHub, and all 3 are here. So if you're struggling or unsure, you can obviously just flick through here and check the differences. And that now gets us to the point where we have a ton of pages ready to work on. So now if we went to actions, file info, you see we added save model. You can see it says new save model job, and that's because in every page in the actions page view model, where we copy and pasted these methods, we've updated the titles inside of each to say make a new save model job, delete save model job, and then if we went to say save drawings, it's a copy and paste of the custom properties, but with the new changed and the delete text changed. And this really brings us to the point where you can see how much copy and pasting has been done here is a lot, and this is something you don't really want to do. So the fact that we have so many common repeating things like fetching a list and having all this logic that's identical every time, with the exception of which view model there is, and the same for add, the same for cancel, the same for delete. This really is screaming out for us to refactor this and minimize all of these repeating chunks of code, because there's an absolute ton. You can see now we're at 1,000 lines of code in this file. So this is becoming quite a monolithic view model. That's really too many lines of code for a view model. It is and it isn't. This is kind of normal for some people. You will end up with massive code files, but you generally start to think something's wrong when you now have a view model that's got 1,000 lines of code. And realistically, all those are repeats of this one. So there's 189 lines of code, and then by the time you've done these, there's actually 1,000, and this is all just copy and pasting and renaming. So at some point we'll come back and refactor this and reduce all of these into some kind of helper or generic class. But for now, it's got us the fact that we can now create a new item on every page, and all this is getting commit to the database in the background. So you can see all these get saved. And if we then check the database, we can see we have all the custom properties, file info, import files, and they've got all the values that we mentioned. We just haven't filled them in. So obviously we've got to make the UI now to bind to all of these values. But the database backend's all done and working. The UI front end's all bound and working. And now we just need to make these pages. So we can literally work through every one of these pages in rapid succession and have this entire actions page done with very little work. I'm going to do a similar thing because I don't think there's any value in you watching me copy and paste the same UI over and over that you've seen before. If there's nothing new to learn, then I don't think there's value in showing you the same thing over and over. And it's also good practice for you to see me do one and then see if you can apply that to do all the others without being guided along the way. You should have enough knowledge now that if I show you how to make this file info page, you should understand how to make all these other pages. And then we can compare afterwards if you made them the same way I did. So let's take a look at the file info page and complete this one, and then let's see if you can do the other pages. So if I open batch process and we go to file info and click new, you can see this is the UI we need to make. So what we have here, and again, I'll update this UI as I go, but we've got a title, subject, author, keyword, and comments. If we go to the data model, say, you can see we've got those. So we've got the title, subject, author, keywords, comments. Now, the only difference here is if this is unchecked, we don't alter the property. If it is checked, we then set it to either a value, or this is something we'll build eventually, a rules builder, where you can browse for folders and it will inject the folder for you. You can browse for a custom property and it gives you a specific command. So almost like a C# command or configuration specific property. It allows you to make this custom string up and say you want the model file name and you want it to do this. It can then have this kind of custom code. So instead of having a checkbox, then I don't see any reason in having a yes or no checkbox. If you wanted the original value, then we might as well update our code to have something like percentage default, having a value like this, or just having literally a custom bit of code. So if we wanted to say this is the new title, we could, in quotes, similar to C#, or we could just have variables. So it really depends on what we want, but ultimately we can just have a string here. There's no need for this checkbox, because we could say if it's blank, it will delete it. By default, when we create it, we want to have, say, a value, something like default, just some kind of code that we decide is a variable that means it's the default. That's why we've only got strings and not booleans as well. We're going to simplify the logic. So all we'll need is literally text boxes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. And we're not seeing the values pulled in here, but that will be in the constructor of the actions page view model. You can see we've only fetched the 2 lists. So this is the design time constructor. So for the design time constructor, we will fetch every list. So it'll be the custom properties, the file info. You want the save model, save drawing, import file. So if we do that now, when we go back to the page, hopefully, if we rebuild, we shall see the list that's in the real database. There we go. So that's the one that's actually in the database. And now we've got a UI we can start making. Now you can see that there's not really going to be much info in this page. So we're never going to fill this entire page when we've just got 5 items. So we have a choice to make. Do we want to put the 5 text boxes down here? Or do we want to get rid of the details, expand this over, and have extras there? So what we'll do first is just add the text boxes and see what we think. So if we first go to where we have the description, so we've got job name and description here. We're going to add it inside of this grid. So we will want another text box. And you can see here, I think we want some comments so it's easier to find things in this SAML. Then we'll have title. This wants to be row 4. And then the rows, we're going to have to add 5 more. So we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we have title. Accept returns no. Text wrapping and hide can go. So there's the title. Now I can see a problem already. We probably want a header between this because it's not obvious that this is details. So maybe we move the details from over there into here and just leave this blank. Or maybe we add another title here. So considering details won't make any sense over there on its own, I'm just going to take the details column, call it save close column for now. Get this label and text block, cut it out. Come back into here, and because we are inside of this grid, we're going to have to do it slightly different. We're going to have to do it how we've done a header here and another one. So we will go outside of this grid, paste that in. We will cut the title out. We're going to move that. And what we're going to do is copy this grid again, paste it below. So now we've just got a clone of that. This is row 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 6, 8, and 10. And then we need to go to here and add more. So we added 3 extra rows or doubles, so spacing and auto, we added 3. So I copy that, 1, 2, 3. We should have the right amount of grids now. We'll have the new details here. This is the new grid. Inside of here now, we will put in the title. We don't need a name. And there you go, you can see it appearing underneath. We've got this big space here though for some reason, I'm not sure why that is. And that will be all of those extra rows we actually added here that we don't need anymore. We added 3 extra here, I think it was, so, or was it even 5? We now have 0, 1, 2. So there's actually only 0, 1, 2. We don't need any other rows. So all of those can go. And there we go, that butts up nicely. And now we've got another row here. So I think that's looking how we want. We've obviously got to bind, but let's ignore the binding for now. Copy and paste this. And we need to paste it 1, 2, 3, 4 more times. Update the name, subject, author, keyword. And comments. This one will be accepts returns true with a height of 80. Then we just need to update the rows. So go up in 2s. And there's the rows, and you can see it fills just nicely there in this case. And then if we now bind to here, all we need to do is bind to the appropriate things. So title. And now with that done, we should have, as simple as that, a fully working page. So the UI should work, the database save should work, the retrieval should work. And this is all because of the view model binding and how we've done it. This should now be a fully complete and functional page. So if we start typing, you can see we've got a new job that remembers it. So if we do the normal title, subject, author, keyword, comment 1, comment 2, comment 3, save, you can see it's literally done. That is the file info page completely done. If we just double check the database in file info, you can see there's all the values committed as well. So it really is that quick and simple now, because we have all the framework in and we've done all the legwork that the print and custom properties took us. Making these pages now is literally seconds work. What was that, 10 minutes work to make the file info page, and it's now fully functional. So we want to do the same now for all these other tabs. And as good practice, instead of me doing it for you, I want you to try and make the page how you think. And then in the next video, we'll compare how we made these and any quirks or things I've had to work around based on the UI. So for the save model UI, here's the UI we currently have. We have the file name, the save location. We've got a checkbox for save all configurations. And then in here, what we've done is made a list like this of exports that are checkable. And you can see this box has a bunch of exports, and the view model is a list of strings. So these will be strings and they are checkable. So there will be a quirk here, which is we need to fill in the list of available options somewhere. And then this will be the checked options. So this will be a list of options that have been selected. But like when we have the drop downs, so when we go to say custom properties and you have this drop down, we need this drop down in a sense, this list for these items here. So let's just do that together because that might be a bit more confusing. We'll put it in the actions page view model. And this is where we put in the members, for example, the custom properties. We made lists like this. So all I'm going to do is copy that one, do the same for the save model and save drawing, to be honest, because we have the save model has a list and the save drawings will. So in the save model, we'll come down here, we'll paste this in. We'll just make it a list of strings because this is expandable constantly by the application, so we definitely don't want enums in this case. And this will be save model formats. And then in here, we just want a new list. So we'll just do this. And then in here, we can go ahead and just copy these. So lib feet part. Like so. And then do the same for the rest. I'll come back in a second on that. We'll copy this, go to save drawings, paste this in, and do save drawing format. And then I'll fill these two in for you now. And that's now the list here. So you can pull this from the git commit. We have this list and we have the drawings list. We may cover this in the follow-up video because this is probably the most interesting part, is how you think we should handle this kind of logic with a lot of checkboxes. In here though, I've changed something up. So in the save drawings, we've got 2 text boxes, we have 3 checkboxes, and then this section here with 2 radio buttons and a text box. I was going to change the logic in the app again, and I still will, to basically just a filter string where we can have multiple things inside a single string. So we just need this text box. We wouldn't need these 2 things here. But I've noticed I've done it as a list of strings. We don't really need it to be a list of strings. We can just do a new line. Otherwise, binding to a list of strings makes a text box not as obvious. So when we just want to do a new line inside of here, we just want a single string. So we actually want to change that back to a string. We don't want a list of strings. And then because we've changed it in here, the sheets filter, we'll need to update the data model as well. And change the sheets filter to just a string. And then we'll have to delete and remake the database, but that will work. Then you have the same idea here for the checkbox list. For import files, it couldn't be any simpler, no explanation needed. 2 text boxes and a checkbox. Drawing templates, we have the 2 defaults. Then we have a radio option to select which function you want to do. So out of these 3. And then what this will do is in here, we have a list that will show predefined items, and each one a current template or a new template based on the visibility selected here. We'll need to select an item. You can ignore this button. This button will be done elsewhere, so don't bother with this button for now. It will basically open up and select some folders, so we'll circle back to that. Then for the drawing templates page, we're going to leave this one and do it together after we've done the others, because there's a pretty unique setup here I want to cover, with a button for importing things and a selection box. So this page we'll do together after, ignore that one. The macros one, again, simple. Simply delete group, we're not using it. Macro is a file name, and module name is a string with 3 checkboxes. So all these UIs are really simple. They're just basically text boxes, combo boxes, text boxes, combo boxes, text boxes, checkboxes, and then the only thing is this one. So I want you guys to really focus on this kind of UI in the save model and save drawing. You're only going to struggle on this thing here. Everything else you should be able to just literally create. There should be no challenge here whatsoever. So go ahead and try to make the save model as, save drawing as, import files and macros views based on what you've just seen. And then when we come back and start the next one, we'll tackle the drawing template UI, which is relatively simple UI, but with this new feature in here.